It's day number 9 of Ezekiel Elliott's holdout, and the question remains, how soon will the Cowboys make a deal? While the team knows they have to feed Zeke eventually, the Cowboys have more on their plate. And moving to the Yellow Jackets, Georgia Tech boasts the best defense in the ACC. What does the Orange offense need to do to shut down the Yellow Jackets?
Pretty simple. Don't let it get set, right? If the Orange can rebound efficiently on the defensive end.
Quinn is eligible to play on September 22nd. The opponent, the Miami Dolphins, the same team that traded him to Dallas back in March. Before the Cowboys hit the road for Oxnard, the coaches shared their knowledge with coaches from around DFW, ranging from Pee Wee to Pop Warner and high school level. Jason Garrett talked about the impact his coaches had growing up, as well as his privileged position that goes beyond the X's and O's. Carmelo Anthony may have come to the Dome, but that didn't bring Syracuse any good luck. Men's basketball lost its season opener 48-34, a pretty surprising score. It's the lowest total in the 40-year history of the Carrier Dome and lowest since 1945. To put it in perspective, the last time Syracuse scored such few points, head coach Jim Boeheim was 3 months old. Jalen Hurts has big shoes to fill, following in the footsteps of Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield. Both of them are Heisman Trophy winners. So the million-dollar question is, can Hurts make it a three-peat? The NCAA just announced that the D1 men's and women's basketball tournaments have been canceled due to the coronavirus. This is the first time the tournament won't be played since it was created in 1939. All other winter and spring championships also won't be played. This is the latest in the series of cancellations. Earlier today, the ACC pulled the plug on their conference tournament. And we're joined now by Citrus TV reporter Nicole Weaving, who's live from Greensboro, North Carolina. That's where the tournament was held. Nicole, ACC teams took the court earlier this morning. What was the conference's timeline with this decision? Francesca, moving to offense, 5 players scored in double figures. How was your team able to really work together and dominate the Orange?
I mean, everybody can score in our team. There is no superstar.
While winning the Sugar Bowl in 2019 is pretty sweet, the team is more focused on a Big 12 title. Texas had a chance on this field last year, but things didn't exactly go as planned. While talks of contracts continue to swirl, Dak Prescott is focused on his game, both on and off the field. So when it was time for interviews with the media, Dak had a little fun. Let's take a look at the Dak drinking game.
What's up, guys? About to do this car wash of interviews. I got a few of them knocked out here in a row.
The Rangers are 5 games out of the final wild card spot in the American League. With 58 games left, can they make one last push for a playoff spot? The answer starts against the A's. The Rangers looking to win their 3rd straight in the series, but it's Oakland who gets on the board first. Mark Canha hits a solo home run in the bottom of the 2nd, 1-0 Oakland, and the Rangers aren't earning straight A's. Barama Sidibe stole the show in Syracuse's 70-54 win over Colgate. The junior recorded his 3rd career double-double and was a perfect 6 of 6 from the field. After battling injuries his freshman and sophomore year, Sidibe says he was proud of how he performed. After 12 days off, Syracuse football hit the road to face NC State. It was a pretty even matchup heading in. Both teams were coming off a bye week. Both teams 3-2, hungry for their first ACC win. Dino Babers even described this one as a swing game. Unfortunately for the Orange, it didn't swing in their favor. Things got ugly very early on. DeMarcus Ware was released in 2014 after 9 years with the Cowboys. The team saved an extra $16 million in salary cap space. And Ware? He went on to win a Super Bowl ring with the Denver Broncos. Jerry says he doesn't want any deja vu. Reporting in Oxnard, California, Jenna Fink, CBS 11 Sports. Syracuse is 3-0 to start the season for the first time since 2016. Now they're looking to make it win number 4 against Hobart. Welcome into a webisode edition of Q's Countdown. He's Darren Wallace, he's Jaron May, I'm Jenna Fink. Syracuse is coming off a big win over number 7 Army, and it was a record day for a lot of players. Goalie Drake Porter had 18 saves, midfielder Jamie Trimboli had a career-high 5 goals. What does Syracuse need to do to continue that momentum against Hobart?
Well, Jenny, you mentioned Jamie Trimboli and his 5 goals.
Either way, these quarterbacks are going to have their right-hand man, Cam Akers. The junior has led the Seminoles in rushing yards every season he's been there, and this season isn't any different. Over 750 net yards and 8 rushing touchdowns through 7 games. His consistency year to year and game to game is second to none.
He has all the traits you want in a go-to running back. He doesn't just have this speed. He ran a 4.41 back in high school, but he's got quickness. He's got that burst off the line that he needs to blitz past defenders. And to top it all off, if he really needs to, at 212 pounds, he can just be a bully if he needs to.
Right, he's so good even when the 5 guys in front of him aren't. 400-plus yards rushing games and averaging 5 yards a carry. Akers is tough and still making those plays even when the guys aren't protecting him.
Yeah, Jenna, he won't be giving his offensive linemen any Halloween goodie bags this year.
Guys, grab your swimsuits and grab your goggles. It's time for a game called Sink or Swim. I'm going to give you a subject, and you're going to say whether or not you think they will sink or swim in Saturday's game. Sound good?
Yeah, no, that sounds pretty
Sounds
easy.
like a plan.
All right. First up is Buddy Boeheim. Now, some games he's been hot with over 20 points, and other games he's struggling to hit 10. And this is a high-pressure game, especially coming off of that loss to Clemson. Will Boeheim sink or swim?
I think he's going to sink.
I also have Syracuse squeaking by in this one, 77-72. Big Three played well against Georgia Tech. I think it'll be the same. Plus, Pittsburgh has lost their last 4 games. Let's talk about Barama Sidibe, perhaps the MVP of the Pitt game. Apparently, the junior really loves to play in Pittsburgh. 2 years ago, Sidibe scored a career-high 18 points and 16 rebounds. This time, he tallied his 3rd double-double of the season, 13 points, 10 rebounds, 5 steals, and 4 blocks. That's quite the stat line. Coach Boeheim not so happy about Mark Dolezaj fouling out, but something he ought to be happy with is Buddy Boeheim and Elijah Hughes. They both had 22 points. That's the first time in a while that they've had good games against the same team. Normally, when one shines, the other is struggling. And how do they have similar success against Duke on Saturday?
Well, there's 2 keys to have that same success.
Only 4 weeks until TCU kicks off the 2019 football season. Head coach Gary Patterson has yet to name a starting quarterback. But he's not just deciding between 2 guys. No, 6 players are fighting for that spot.
The competition level and all that is, for me, I'm a lot more comfortable right now where we fit and what we do than I felt like probably in 2 years. So, we'll see how that all turns out. They all get along. They're good friends.
Grad transfer Alex Delton and junior Mike Collins are 2 of the quarterbacks vying for the spot. They understand the benefit of a little friendly competition.
It's a competitive room right now, and I think that's very constructive for our team. I mean, the fact that we got so many guys that push each other every day, whether that be in meetings or workouts or on the field or throwing, whatever that may be. I think that's very constructive for our offense, and it's going to give us a final product come season that's going to be, I think, successful.
It's competition, I've worked for everything I've had to get here and don't plan on backing down or anything from it, just what it is. Just got to go out there and compete.
So what will it take to electrify the TCU faithful and win the quarterback battle? Offensive coordinator Sonny Cumbie says there are several factors.
There's the measurables of completion percentage and touchdowns, interceptions, all that stuff. I think the biggest thing is, do they move the ball and do they make the other guys on the team better?
For quarterbacks, it's all about the reps. The more, the better. Having 6 players limits the amount each one practices, but Coach Cumbie and Patterson have a plan.
It's really going to be a very fluid situation. I mean, just from the standpoint of, I think, Coach, we've all talked, and, you liked early on to try to get down to about 3 guys pretty soon, and then just narrow in on those, out of those 3. And then who knows, you name a starter, but, you may have to play, a couple guys early on to kind of see how it plays out.
The Horned Frogs' motto this season is earn the chip, fitting, as that's exactly what these quarterbacks have to do to earn the #1 spot. From Amon Carter Stadium, Jenna Fink, CBS 11 Sports. Syracuse men's lacrosse remains undefeated after 4 games. That success has landed them #1 in the country for the first time since 2017. The Orange have a tough test ahead, though. Johns Hopkins on the road. SU and the Blue Jays have a long history dating back to the 80s. Just ask head coach John Desko.
Back in the day when we won our first championship in '83, it was kind of the turning point for Syracuse lacrosse, and it was against Hopkins. And I think Hopkins, they always remembered that day. And since then, teams have been in national championships and always competed very highly.
Johns Hopkins and Syracuse have combined for 21 NCAA championships and over 1,900 wins. Safe to say these 2 teams are lacrosse powerhouses. Saturday's meeting is the 59th between the 2. The Orange have won 6 of the last 10, including last year's game. Find out how this year's matchup ends Saturday at 1 o'clock. GZA Countdown to Faceoff starts at 12:30 on WAER. Right after that game, Syracuse men's basketball wraps up its regular season against Miami. The Orange have won 3 of their last 4, and a win against the Canes likely secures SU the 5th seed in the ACC tournament. Tune in to GZA Countdown to tip-off Saturday at 3:30 on WAER. Speaking of the ACC tournament, the women's team advanced to the quarterfinals for the 2nd straight year after a 67-50 win over Virginia. Now Syracuse takes on #1 seed Louisville, a team who has only lost 2 ACC games. Tip-off is later today at 2 o'clock. Women's ice hockey shut out Lindenwood 4-0 to advance to the CHA semifinals. Junior Victoria Klemic tallied the program's 4th postseason hat trick ever. Next update at 8:32, Jenna Fink, WAER Sports. Syracuse gets the win it so desperately needed, a 79-72 win over Georgia Tech. The Orange snapped a 3-game skid and have swept the Yellow Jackets this season, and now the Orange are back to 500 in ACC play. The poor shooting from the first half didn't find its way into the second. SU went on a 10-2 run to start the second half. Jose Alvarado and Moses Wright were able to silence the crowd a couple of times and keep Georgia Tech's lead pretty slim, but then the big three came alive. Buddy Boeheim, Joe Girard, Elijah Hughes found their stride, and they took their first lead since the first 2 minutes of the game with 9 minutes left. Get this, Marek Dolezaj and Elijah Hughes led the team with 20 points each. Marek Dolezaj also a perfect 12 of 12 from the free throw line. Joe Girard finished with 15 points, Buddy Boeheim with 13, so a solid effort from those 3 guys. For Georgia Tech, Moses Wright tallied a new season high of 33 points, also a career high. He was 14 of 17 from the field. And Georgia Tech kept things close but couldn't find an offensive rhythm through much of the second half. Syracuse normally struggling with rebounds but out-rebounded Georgia Tech 33-32. Overall, a much-needed win over the Yellow Jackets. Total offensive domination in the second half. Let's take a look at some other scores around the nation. 11th-ranked Louisville ran rampant over North Carolina, 72-55 for their 7th straight home win. Jordan Nwora led the Cardinals with 18 points and 11 rebounds. In Raleigh, 8th-ranked Florida State escaped the upset in a 67-61 win over NC State. The Seminoles outscored the Wolfpack by 11 in the second half. Clemson leads Boston College 8-0 2 minutes in. Both teams are vying for their 8th conference win. Tigers looking to build off 2 straight ACC wins. Finally in Waco, number 3 Kansas handed number 1 Baylor their 2nd loss of the season, 64-61. And that was the first Big 12 loss for the Bears. We'll have your second half highlights on the other side of this break. You're listening to Syracuse Basketball on WAER. Syracuse beats Georgia Tech 79-72 in the Dome, a much-needed win for this Orange squad. Welcome into Orange Overtime. I'm Jenna Fink. It's time for Radio Replay. Syracuse has really struggled over the past week and a half. The Orange lost 3 straight games, so you would imagine SU was excited to square up against Georgia Tech, a team Syracuse dominated by 34 back in December. But that was then, and today Georgia Tech jumped out to a quick start thanks to Moses Wright.
Alvarado, transition 3, in and out, Wright slams it on the putback from the free throw line almost. And a 9-4 Georgia Tech lead, 15:50 left first half.
The Wright could not be stopped in the first half. The junior forward had 15 points and 4 rebounds. He took care of business inside while Michael DeVoe was clicking outside.
Right elbow, DeVoe, left wing 3 on the way, it's good. 11-point lead for Georgia Tech, their largest of the game. It's 20-9, 10:50 to go first half.
The Orange needed a spark plug, and that's exactly what Joe Girard has been all season. Just when it looked like the Yellow Jackets might pull away with the game, the freshman showed up.
Hughes skies for the board, he's running. Girard shooting, count it. Straight away, Girard on the board from downtown, 22-16. Orange within 6, 8:35 to go first half.
That's all well and good, but it doesn't matter when the zone has no answer for Wright.
Stolen Georgia Tech, DeVoe, alley-oop in the air, slammed down by Wright. What a first half performance for Moses Wright. He's got 15 points.
So the first half belonged to Wright. Elijah Hughes, on the other hand, really struggled. The redshirt junior started the game just 1 of 6 from the field, but Hughes picked up some much-needed momentum at the end of the frame.
Left side, swings it around Hughes, right wing. On DeVoe, a 3 over him, Cash. Smooth release from Hughes, 1 minute left. 34-25, Georgia Tech on top of Syracuse.
Georgia Tech led Syracuse 38-27 at the break, but SU showed plenty of life at the end of the first half. The Orange needed a quick start out of the gate, though. Enter Joe Girard.
Hughes near side wing, one-on-one with Jordan Usher. Now in the hands of Girard, a deep 3. He got it. How about that start to the half for Syracuse? A deep Joe Girard 3 cuts the lead to 38-30, just 30 seconds in.
The freshman was back at it again just 3 minutes later.
Girard has it from the inbounds on the near side corner, working on Michael DeVoe. Gets a step inside, his floater, and one, Joe Girard. A tough free throw up and over the sides of Georgia Tech. And Joe Girard is getting Syracuse right back in it. It's 40-36.
So Syracuse was knocking at the door, and then the lead with about 9 minutes left on an Elijah Hughes free throw. Hughes missed a three a few minutes later, but Barama Sidibe had Hughes' back.
Hughes top of the key, met by Jordan Usher. Works on him, step back, jumper won't go. Sidibe with the offensive rebound, layup up and good, and the foul.
Sidibe missed the free throw, but that put Syracuse up 58-55. Sidibe finished with 6 points and 10 rebounds, 1 game removed from fouling out against Louisville in just 11 minutes. It looked like the Molly native shook that bad habit. He didn't commit a foul until the 8-minute mark of the second half. But believe it or not, Sidibe was called for 5 fouls in the span of 6 minutes. Fellow forward Mark Dolezaj picked up the slack soon after.
A minute 45 left in the second, met by Bubba Parham. Now Dolezaj drives inside, working on Moses Wright. His layup up and good. Dolezaj up and over Moses Wright, and it's an 8-point advantage. A minute 30 left.
That was the nail in the coffin. Dolezaj tallied 20 points and 5 rebounds. That performance propelled Syracuse to its 8th ACC win of the year.
5 seconds left as Girard holds, and Syracuse, after trailing by 11 points at halftime, comes back and gets back in the win column. A 79-72 victory over the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets here in the Carrier Dome.
Once again, the final score 79-72, Syracuse on top. A much-needed win for this Orange squad. Pepsi player of the game goes to Elijah Hughes. He had 20 points, 5 of 12 from the field, 2 of 6 from the three, and he had 7 rebounds and 7 assists as well. So a key factor in this win over Georgia Tech. Next up, Syracuse takes on Pittsburgh in the Steel City on Wednesday. It's one of SU's longest-running rivalries and one that has recently turned in the Orange's favor. WAER's Corey Barbarian previews the Panthers.